guys, I am coming to you with yet another readathon that I am going to be participating in, and I'm so excited. It is actually one that I looked at last year and just got super overwhelmed. And I've been looking at it this past week and decided, you know what, I am going to finally print off all of my sheets and start participating in the Magical Readathon. If you don't know what the Magical Readathon is, I'm going to link the introduction video below by Book Roast. This is run by this creator on YouTube. It is basically like a role-playing readathon where you get to create your character, study at school, all these different things. It's so much fun. So watch the video in order to see the whole setup because it's a lot. There's a ton of different things that you can do within this world that has been created by Book Roast, who is the YouTuber, but I'm just going to go over my TBR for the Autumn Equinox because that's the semester we're in. It's technically supposed to run through the month of September, but I'm coming in late, so I'm going to be speed reading a ton of books. So these are my notes and all of my papers so that I can keep track of everything. A lot of this is in the Google Drive for the Magical Readathon. Some of it I created on my own just so that I can track different things, but I am studying to be a Beastmaster, and I would also like to get the dragon writing license, so that determines the prompts that I have to read. Now let's go over my TBR. So on my syllabus, in order to pass my classes for the Autumn Equinox semester, I have to do Chemical Breakdown and Alchemy, which is basically a read that will make you emotional. I've already read The Phoenix Keeper and I teared up at the end. So I have already marked that down as my read that made me emotional because it was such a good, cute, cozy fantasy about a socially anxious zookeeper. I highly, highly recommend this book to anyone who's wanting a cozy fantasy with a bi-panic lead who absolutely adores and loves her animals. This was such a great read. The marketing has it listed like it's going to be heavy on the romance. It's not. That's the one thing that I will say. If you're going into this because you've read the blurb and you think that it's going to be this rivals to lovers, enemies to lovers main plot, that doesn't really come into play until 50%. This is not heavy romance. This is very heavy, fantastical creatures and personal growth for our main character. And then you get a little bit of romance. So keep that in mind, but definitely recommend reading The Phoenix Keeper, and that fulfilled one of my prompts. For my animal studies, I have to read all 3 prompts. So it's going to be Phoenix on the cover or in the title, a standalone, and a book that had a cover change. So for my Phoenix on the cover in the title, I'm reading Somewhere Beyond the Sea by TJ Klune. I've got that coming in an audio, but if it doesn't come in soon enough, then I'll go ahead and purchase it. If you haven't read House in the Cerulean Sea, this is the second book to that. And again, it's a cozy fantasy. I'm really feeling super cozy if I can get cozy right now. So it's a cozy fantasy that follows our MMC, who basically takes in unwanted magical children and raises them. So that's where we pick up with Somewhere Beyond the Sea. We get Arthur's story, which we didn't before we got his love interest story. I'm so excited to read this book. For standalone, I picked a book that I've actually already read in September, so it's The Dark We Know by Wenyi Lee. The quickest and easiest way for me to describe this book is essentially if you liked the TV series Midnight Mass by Mike Flanagan, this has a antagonist that is very much like the antagonist within that television series. You have that supernatural antagonist, but then you also have the antagonist of the townspeople, and it follows Issa, who returns to her hometown after she left. She is an art student, and she left after her friend committed suicide. She comes back and she stays because there's a lot of mystery around all of these sudden deaths that are happening within the town. There is a huge trigger and content warning for suicide and suicidal ideation within this, and then also weaponized religion and such, or even not even religion, but worship, weaponized worship. But I actually really loved this book with a caveat, and I am going to record a review over this. I don't know which will end up getting posted first, but if that intrigued you, you can go watch the full review. Just remember the review will have spoilers. For my book with a cover change, I picked Masquerade of the Heart, which is actually the second book in the Garden of the Cursed duology. I've already read this in September, so it worked. It's an Owl Crate edition that I have, so it did have a cover change with my exclusive edition. And I can't speak much to the second book because it will give away a ton of spoilers, but I will say that the duology follows Marlo Briggs, who is a curse breaker in Karaza. I think it's Karaza. I think that's what it's called. She's a curse breaker in Karaza. She left high society after her mom disappeared because she's not actually high society born. And so the boy that she was very good friends with, that she was in love with whenever she was living in the high society, comes to her because he has been cursed with a forbidden curse that should not exist and should not be able to be cast anymore. So she works throughout the first novel to break this curse, and then we've got that like friends to enemies to like friends again to lovers type situation, fake dating, all the fun things. A really good duology. I will say I like the first book better than the second book, but I'm still happy to have read the full duology. All right, so on my syllabus, the next 3 prompts that I have come from the Art of Illusion because my character is a mind walker, and therefore anyways, on all that stuff, I just have to follow Art of Illusion. You can watch the video if you want to know how the characters get made. But I had to do a random emoji generator, and I got a skull, which was really convenient. And then I got prequel, and I got word memory in the title. So for these 3 reads, I am actually picking up my friend's novel, Root and Bone by Jessica Rainey. She is published with a small-time publisher within Houston, Cursed Dragon Ship Publishing. So I'm going to read her book 1 novel that has been published. I've got this lovely bookmark because at her signing, she was also giving away unique and original bookmarks that she drew. Very excited to read this. It is super witchy, so it is perfect for spooky season. And of course, we've got this skull on the cover. I love this cover. It's so cool and so pretty. So this is my skull read for the emoji generator. For the prequel, I actually am doing the same book that Book Roast, the person who created all of this, is doing. She mentioned Queen Bee. It looks like it's a really quick read, which is good, and it's also a read that can be like a standalone. You don't have to have read book 1 prior, and I couldn't think of any prequels, so I was like, cool, bet, I'll do it. I think it's about witches as well, so that's what I signed up for. I don't know that much about it. I just know that I'm reading it. And for the last prompt in Art of Illusion, I need to read a book with you in the title, so I will be reading You, the Story, A Writer's Guide to Craft Through Memory by Ruta Sepetys. I do write a lot in my spare time. I have aspirations to be an author myself, so reading a craft book is perfect. It's got the word memory in there, and it's also fairly short as well. It's like 5 hours. All right, I needed 1 prompt from Elemental Studies, and the prompt is your favorite scent in the title / cover / author name. I have a lot of favorite scents, so I was basically just kind of looking at my bookshelf to see anything that struck my attention. And of course, I was like, oh, this is perfect because Wisteria just came out. And so I grabbed a copy of Wisteria at my friend's book launch, not this friend, but another friend, Anne Rose, who just had her launch of The Seemingly Impossible Life of Amanda Dean. I went to her launch on Friday. It was fabulous. It was wonderful. They held it at Barnes & Noble. It was so good. And while I was there, I picked up Wisteria because I have read Belladonna and Foxglove. And so I need to read book 3, and I, living in the South, like wisteria is everywhere and it smells amazing. I love wisteria, so I was like, oh, bet. That actually worked out beautifully. So this will be my read for a scent that I love. I don't have a favorite, so I just kind of modified a little. I've got 2 prompts left. The next one is for restoration. It's Night Dew, and I have to have a night sky on the cover. So for this one, I'm reading A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher. Kingfisher is hands down one of my favorite authors. I absolutely will read anything that this author puts out. So A Sorceress Comes to Call is the most recent publication. I do have it coming in on my Libby, but I don't think it's going to come in soon enough, so I might end up having to buy this one. It does have the night sky and the stars on the cover, so it worked for my prompt. And this is a folklore retelling of Goose Girl, so it is going to be fabulous. I already know. And then my very last prompt is dangerous plants. So I needed to have a poisonous or dangerous plant on the cover. This was actually so hard because I don't know what poisonous plants look like, so I was just trying to find like the poisonous plant mentioned in the title, and that was not working. And I was like, oh my gosh, I hate the fact that I've already read Belladonna and Foxglove because either of those would have worked. But in the announcement video, which is not the one that I have linked, it's the one that you would go to if you want to continue on. And at that point, you can follow Book Roast like videos and how they've got everything pinned. But somebody mentioned in the announcements and down in the comments a ton of books that had poisonous flowers on them, and Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Haro was mentioned because there's Belladonna on here. And that was absolutely perfect. I have had my eye on this for a really long time because I truly love Alex E. Haro's writing. So I was like, cool, that's going to push me to read the book that I've had on my TBR for over a year now. So I had 12 books in total that I needed to read. I happened to have already read 3 of them at the time that I really started paying attention to this challenge and decided that I wanted to participate. This challenge only happens throughout the month of September, so if you're coming in late, it's going to be pretty difficult. I have to read 9 books in the next 15 days. It's going to be hard, but I'm actually so excited. But if you are like, oh, that's so cool, I would love to be a part of the magical readathon and make a character and role play and do all of these things, it's ongoing. So the semesters are the spring equinox and the autumn equinox. It's through the month of April and the month of September. But there are challenges and different things that happen throughout the year, so you can definitely join at any point. It's just like you're mastering your calling and everything like that might take a little bit more time. Honestly, coming in at the spring equinox would have been better than coming in the autumn equinox, but I don't care. I'm just so excited to have made my character, whose name is Abyssia, and get started and push myself to read books that I've been putting off for ages. So adding this challenge to my to-do list, I've got a lot of books to read in September, but I'm so excited. And I think that this challenge and this community just seems really cool, and they keep track of the pages that are entered and stuff. And I think maybe last time or one of the times, they tracked 6 million plus pages read during the challenge. I just think that's so cool. I think the promotion of the reading that's happening here on top of all of the fun role play fantasy elements is awesome. So if you're interested, go look at that video that I posted in my description, because I definitely will be participating in this for years to come, so long as this is still happening for the next however many years it goes.